Kolege, dragi građani, premijeru Trudeau. Sloboda, pravo izbora, pravo na život i zdravlje, pravo na rad za mnoge od nas to su temeljna ljudska prava za koje su milijuni građana Europe i svijeta položili svoje živote. Za obranu naših prava i prava naše djece koje smo stjecali stoljećima, mnogi od nas, uključujući i mene, spremni smo riskirati vlastitu slobodu i položiti vlastite živote. Nažalost, danas su među nama i oni koji gaze te temeljne vrijednosti. Kanada, nekada simbol modernog svijeta, je pod vodstvom vaše kvazi liberalne čizme proteklih mjeseci postala simbol kršenja temeljnih ljudskih prava i građanskih sloboda. Gledali smo kako konjima gaze žene, kako samohranim roditeljima blokirate bankovne račune da ne mogu platiti djeci školovanje, da ne mogu platiti lijekove, da ne mogu platiti račune za struju i vodu, da ne mogu platiti rate kredita za svoje domove. Za vas su to možda liberalne metode. Međutim, za mnoge građane svijeta to je diktatura najgore vrste. Budite uvjereni da građani svijeta, udruženi, mogu zaustaviti svaki režim koji želi uništiti slobodu građana, bilo bombama, bilo štetnim farmaceutskim proizvodima. Hvala.
Article 195 out that it would have been more appropriate for Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to address this House according to Article 144, an article which was specifically designed to debate violations of human rights, democracy and the rule of law, which is clearly the case with Mr. Trudeau. Then again, a Prime Minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this House at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
And with the Prime Minister of Canada, the way he's behaving right now, he's exactly like a tyrant, like a dictator. He's like Ceausescu in Romania. If even you doubt, if you raise doubts about the vaccines, you're outcasted. What's the difference between what he does and what happened under the Inquisition? See, on one side they say, well, we should not believe in God, but on the other side they say, believe in science. We don't have to. Science is not about belief. Science is about measurements, conclusions, hypotheses, and arguments. We got to a point right now where even if you say something, if you raise any doubts, you're already considered, as whatever, they label you in very different ways. This is not okay. And I have to tell you, that when I saw the protests in Canada, the way the truckers over there reacted, I got in touch with some of them, others contacted me, I congratulated them, and I want to use this opportunity to thank them, and I hope this movement for freedom and for rights is spreading all around the world, because at the end of the day we have to make sure that all these elected officials, they understand that they were elected in those offices to work for the people, not to behave like masters of slaves. Thank you.
Let me begin by saying that the Canadian Prime Minister, who tried to advise us on how to deal with the farmers' protests last year and swore that Canada will be there to defend the rights of peaceful protest, has run away from the truckers and others, even as we speak on the 30th of January 2022. They are rallying against vaccine mandates, inflation, supply chain disruptions, etc. So the fellow who was trying to give us advice has actually gone into hiding. He has betrayed their trust. The saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It comes from those you have faith in. Some of the most poisonous people come disguised as friends and family. My motto has always been to protect the oppressed, even if he is my enemy. But I will never forgive the traitor, even if he is my friend.
Justin Trudeau has tried to portray himself as a champion of protesters, the farmers in India. The Canadian Prime Minister has meddled in India's internal affairs twice. On both occasions, he said a lot. But now Justin Trudeau has gone silent. Fingers are being raised at his own government. The government of Justin Trudeau spent billions of dollars of public funds in the name of pandemic aid, but there's no accountability. The Trudeau government refuses to say who got this money, and we're not talking about a small sum. We are talking about $240 billion here, $240 billion. The investigation has been carried out by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, or CBC, the National Public Broadcaster of Canada. They have been probing how the Trudeau government distributed financial aid during this pandemic. According to this report, $240 billion have been distributed, but no one knows who got this money. Here is what the report says. The Canadian government has launched more than 100 programs since the pandemic began, but only a few departments have released details of how they're spending this money. There are no details of the individuals, groups or companies which have received government funds. CBC tried to gather this information, but some government departments have been fighting the broadcaster, quote-unquote, tooth and nail. The Trudeau government is denying them this information. In other words, billions of dollars have been spent from the public exchequer. The question is, where has this money gone? And the answer is the government's silence. Does it sound like a scam? The Canadian press is not calling it a scam just yet. They're still investigating the programs, but big numbers are being thrown up. Listen to this. More than $16 billion was given to government agencies and departments. The Canadian government expects to hand out more money. Like I said, $240 billion has been given out so far. By March next year, the Trudeau government could spend well over $300 billion. Let me give you one figure.
Prime Minister Trudeau talking about you last night?
Well, he's two-faced.